Hello and welcome to our channel. We're here to share with you some of the latest updates on U.S. immigration policies and how they affect people who want to come to or stay in the country. Immigration is a complex and controversial topic that has been in the spotlight for many years, especially under the previous and current administrations. In this video, we will summarize some of the key evolving immigration policies such as Asylum Standards, Humanitarian Parole, and Fast-Track Deportation Authority, and discuss their implications for the health and well-being of immigrants. Asylum Standards. Asylum is a form of protection granted to people who have fled their home country because of persecution, or fear of persecution based on their race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group. To apply for asylum in the U.S., migrants must either be at the border or already in the country, and they must prove that they meet the definition of a refugee. Asylum seekers do not receive a legal status that allows them to live and work in the U.S. until their claim is approved. The Trump administration implemented several policies that made it harder for asylum seekers to access and obtain asylum in the U.S., such as the Migrant Protection Protocols, MPP, also known as the Remain in Mexico policy, which required migrants to wait in Mexico while their asylum claims were processed, and the third country transit ban, which barred migrants from applying for asylum if they had passed through another country on their way to the U.S., and the Asylum Cooperation Agreements, which allowed the U.S. to send migrants to other countries in Central America to seek asylum there. These policies were challenged in court and suspended by the Biden administration, which also pledged to restore and improve the asylum system. However, in December 2021, the Biden administration reinstated the MPP policy after the Supreme Court upheld a lawsuit by Texas and Missouri that challenged the program's closure. The administration also continued to use a public health order known as Title 42, which was invoked by the Trump administration in March 2020, to expel most migrants who arrive at the U.S.-Mexico border without giving them a chance to apply for asylum or other forms of protection. The administration has faced criticism from human rights groups and some Democrats for these actions, which they say violate U.S. and international law and put migrants at risk of violence and abuse. Humanitarian parole. Humanitarian parole is a discretionary power that allows the U.S. government to admit people into the country by essentially bypassing the regular immigration process. This power is supposed to be used on a case-by-case basis for urgent humanitarian reasons or significant public benefit. Migrants are usually admitted for a predetermined period, and there is no path toward U.S. citizenship. Over the years, administrations, both Democratic and Republican, have used humanitarian parole to admit people into the U.S. and help groups of people from all over the world. For example, it has been used to admit people from Hungary in the 1950s, from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, during the latter half of the 1970s, and Iraqi Kurds who had worked with the U.S. in the mid-1990s, according to research by the Cato Institute. Under Biden, the U.S. has relied heavily on humanitarian parole. The U.S. airlifted nearly 80,000 Afghans from Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and brought them to the U.S. after the Taliban takeover. The U.S. has admitted tens of thousands of Ukrainians who fled after the Russian invasion. In January 2022, the administration announced a plan to admit 30,000 people a month from Cuba. Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela, via humanitarian parole, provided those migrants had a financial sponsor, and flew to the U.S. instead of going to the U.S.-Mexico border for entry. Some immigration experts and advocates have praised the use of humanitarian parole as a way to provide relief and protection to people in need, especially in times of crisis and conflict. However, others have raised concerns about the lack of transparency and oversight of the process, the potential for abuse and fraud, and the uncertainty and instability that parolees face in the U.S. without a clear legal status or access to benefits and services. Fast-Track Deportation Authority. Fast-Track Deportation Authority, also known as expedited removal, is a process that allows immigration officers to quickly deport certain migrants who are in the U.S. illegally without giving them a hearing before an immigration judge or the opportunity to appeal. This process applies to migrants who are encountered within 100 miles of the border and who have been in the country for less than 14 days, as well as to migrants who arrive by sea and who have been in the country for less than 1 year. The Trump administration attempted to expand the use of fast-track deportation authority to cover any migrant who is in the U.S. illegally and who cannot prove that they have been in the country for more than 2 years, regardless of where they are encountered. This expansion was blocked by a federal judge in 2019 who ruled that it violated the due process rights of migrants and the Administrative Procedure Act. The Biden administration has not appealed the ruling and has not indicated whether it plans to pursue the expansion. Supporters of Fast-Track Deportation Authority argue that it is a necessary and effective tool to deter illegal immigration and to reduce the backlog and costs of the immigration court system. Opponents of Fast-Track Deportation Authority contend that it violates the rights and dignity of migrants, that it increases the risk of deporting people who have valid claims for asylum or other forms of relief, and that it undermines the rule of law and accountability of the immigration system. Conclusion: these are some of the key evolving immigration policies that affect people who want to come to or stay in the U.S. As you can see, immigration is a dynamic and complex issue that involves many factors and stakeholders, and that has significant implications for the health and well-being of immigrants and the society as a whole. We hope this blog post has given you some insight and information on this important topic. If you want to learn more, please browse our other videos. Thank you, and please feel free to leave your comments and questions below. Don't forget to subscribe so you will be notified when we release a new video.